jimmies, ma'am. I need to shimmy my jimmies.
Are you gonna eat that croissant?
Croissant.
Jimmy!
Are you gonna eat that croissant?
Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba.
Hello, everybody.
We're doing a thing. Oh.
Hello. Welcome. I see you there.
What are
Don't
you doing
change
here
that
again?
channel.
Thought we talked about this.
Oh, that's right. We're having a little drink.
We were having a party
having a
because we
little
were
drink.
celebrating something.
We're having a little celebration.
We're
We talked about it
celebrating.
on our little, our full listen along.
Yeah.
But, we decided to pop open a little booze for this because...
Little shoju.
Soju.
Because this is, we're celebrating a little show that we have here that you're watching right now.
Oh.
Something that we like to call...
Aftercare?
Freeze frame. Nailed it.
That's why I paused. I was like, I know what we're doing.
But my name, as always, is bootyswagga, joined as always by my lovely co-host.
Yep. Yeah.
And hey, this is You Gotta See This Aftercare, and we're celebrating 1,000 YouTube subscribers. As we're recording this, we have over 1,100 subscribers. So thank you, everybody.
Cheers.
So we just watched the John Hughes classic, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, one of my favorite movies of all time, a childhood favorite, an adulthood favorite. What are your first thoughts on it? What were your first impressions of seeing this movie?
I can totally see why it is iconic, why it has withheld the test of time. Every scene in that movie is
scene,
perfect.
There's so many quotable moments. There's so many iconic scenes and music choices that I constantly think about. I've seen as a kid, like we would talk about this movie as just like, this is what it's like to be in high school, and then being in high school and being like, this is the ultimate day off from high school, and being in college and being like, they could never do that in high school, but it would be so cool if you could. I feel the movie just, it hits differently at different times of my life that I've watched it, and every time it hits good for different reasons. And now that I'm an adult, now I view it as a pure fantasy movie that's up there with like Star Wars and Indiana Jones of just
that would never happen.
But it's like it's a high school fantasy film. Like it's a perfectly elaborate dream sequence of perfect events.
Well, we all wished our high school lives could have been like. We all wanted to be a Ferris, but maybe inadvertently we were all Cameron.
Exactly.
Or maybe a Sloan.
Exactly.
Not quite the Ferris.
I think more people identify with Cameron. Cameron is the audience's vehicle because everyone probably knew a Ferris, someone that got away with everything, someone that had like the coolest things, someone that would get the girl that couldn't get in trouble. So I feel like Cameron is the audience's vehicle to experience this fantasy. Someone that's unwilling and dragged along,
right? But in the end, he made it his own.
In the end,
hats
he
off
made it
to
his
Cameron.
own. Absolutely. This is one of my favorite segments. I know you're not looking forward to it, but I know. Leave a comment down below if you love it too. We're gonna have Yeb give us a little walkthrough of the plot.
Ferris doesn't want to go to school. He tells us how we can get away with it. He gives a step-by-step plan. Lots of fourth wall breaking, but that's beside the point. He fools his parents. He does not have to go to school. He spends his morning concocting every imaginable fail-safe for if his plan is to go awry. So he's begging his best friend to come pick him up so that they could go have shenanigans.
My favorite.
He gets his girlfriend out of school by saying that her grandma died. The principal at this point, hot on his case, is knowing that this is him involved, yeah? So he gets his girlfriend out of school. They end up going to downtown Chicago. They see a baseball game. They go to the museum. They get their Ferrari stolen and taken back. And then the principal breaks into his house. A lot of stuff. The principal does a lot of really questionable shit, but whatever, besides the point. And then some way or another, they get back to Cameron's house with the Ferrari that they got back. Cameron has a mental breakdown because of the mileage, shoves it out of a window, says, you know what? This is fine. And then the movie kind of comes to a close where Ferris has to run back home with an excellent montage because his sister is driving a car, and he makes it in time, and literally nothing ever goes bad for Ferris. He had the perfect day out. He got away with it. That was Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Riveting. Dare I say a classic
anything?
in itself.
Comment down below if I missed anything.
I think you nailed it.
I did not like the suspension of disbelief that people don't have peripheral vision in this universe. I don't like that. Like, I know that, you know, as a kid, we think our parents are not really like humans or like NPCs. There ain't no way they could see us standing right in front of a car if they were driving it. They wouldn't recognize us by our arms. That's not true. And it was really hard for me to see that and be like, well, you're caught. And then no, he just wasn't. Like,
yeah, I feel like my parents, when I was a kid, my parents had me on such a lock. Maybe it's because I'm an only child, but I feel like my mother could identify me from like a half inch of my clothing from behind in a crowded place.
1000%.
Like my mother would be like, that is his shoe. I know that's his shoe.
They
or like,
bought the shoes.
I know
they
that
know the
that's
shoes.
like a tiny section of his sock. That's my, like, I
Literally.
feel I do agree. There's a common film theory, one of those crazy things that I know it's not real, but it is a fun thought experiment of picturing the whole movie from Cameron's perspective, where Ferris is his imaginary friend. And through Ferris, it's how Cameron comes to terms with like trying to get out of his anxiety, try to live his life. So it is funny looking through all those scenes where there's close encounters with Ferris's parents, but maybe they wouldn't necessarily recognize Cameron right away.
Right.
So those, it's such a fun movie to play with it.
Listen, all due respect to Matt Pat.
All of them? Exactly.
All due respect to Matt Pat. I think that's a little far-fetched. And you know what? I can suspend disbelief for a movie, but if it went on any longer, if it was any more ridiculous, I would have had an issue. I would have taken issue.
So you're not looking forward to seeing Ferris Bueller 2, Day Off Boogaloo?
That's not real.
It isn't real, I wish. Now let's talk about the good.
Okay. I'll go first.
Yeah.
The fits. The music.
Iconic. Groundbreaking and is still quoted to this day.
The monologues. I loved that. It has so much charm in the way that these characters speak. So,
well, I think it definitely influenced a lot of like popular shows like Malcolm in the Middle. Mm-hmm. Like where the character will suddenly break from the action, break the fourth wall, and deliver messages. And they're always kind of like smart and like quirky with it. And so I always, anytime I see that happen, I immediately think of Ferris Bueller. If you were to have yourself a Ferris Bueller style day off, what would be the 3 things that you would want to do?
This might sound a little boring. Maybe I'm a boring person. But if I could have a day off from school, I would do what I like to do on my perfect days as an adult, which is go to a way too fancy place to get brunch. They did that in the movie. They did that with lunch. Go to an outdoor garden. I would love that. I love botanical gardens. Go to a museum. They did that as well. I'd go to get a book. I'd get a haircut and a new dress. And then I'd go to the ocean. That would be my perfect day.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a fun day.
And you?
It's funny that you say that because I feel this answer has changed throughout my life. Like you would ask me when I first saw this movie and I would have a completely different answer because my perfect Ferris Bueller's Day Off as an adult are the things that I do on my day off. Obviously, like sleep in, not go to school in the morning. But then I would go and I would get the greatest empanadas in the city of Chicago at a place called El Mercado. I would walk just down the street to go to the Music Box Theater and catch like a nice movie matinee. Then from there, I would probably have like a nice slice of pizza. I'd probably go to Pequod's and get myself like a nice Zada myself. And then honestly, I would take a page out of Ferris's book and I think I would go to the art museum. If you could give this movie a rating, what would you rate this out of 10? It was your first time.
if I could, I don't want to be too generous. I loved this movie. Very little I would ever change. I don't think that I could reasonably give any movie a 10 out of 10 my first time watching
That's
through.
fair.
I'm going to sit with a generous 9.5.
I'm going right there with you. While this movie is one of my all-time favorites, I'm giving it a 9.5 as well. I do love this movie. I wouldn't herald it as a perfect 10 out of 10. There are some things, I don't know what it is. There's just certain elements that make a Lord of the Rings a Lord of the Rings.
Oh, is Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 for me. But as far as I'm concerned, a 9.5 is like... I
feel like that's as close as you're going to get. Last time we did Aftercare, we asked you guys to leave questions in the comments for us. Your burning, what is another word for questions? First question we have from that G4. The question is, I really want to know why you guys decided to do a film podcast, a la Rip Tracks. Like, what inspired you? You two have such good chemistry, though. You could do a podcast about anything, IMO.
Aww.
Aww.
Aw, that's really nice. Thank you for the question, that G4. This is a podcast idea that I have had in my mind. Not this exact format. I have been a fan of Mystery Science Theater and Riff Tracks. So this kind of concept of talking over movies, I've watched movies my entire life. I love movies. It's a part of who I am. I talk in movie quotes. So I've always dreamed about doing some sort of movie podcast. So it just kind of was one of those things. We were hanging out one day and I said, this has always been a dream of mine to do this kind of podcast. And you were like, let's do it right now.
I was like, I dare you. I have never heard of Risk Tracks. I have never heard of Mystery Science Theater. So he explained it to me and said how he'd always wanted to do this thing. And I'm like, well, I can talk about anything, basically. And I love movies too. I grew up watching a lot of movies. I've always loved films, and I think I've always had a way of ingesting them, maybe in a different way than most people. So I enjoy talking about them. And this was just a happy coinky dink.
This is really my long-term gaslighting con of just forcing Yeb to watch all of my favorite movies. That way she can understand me when I talk.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question. Thank you so much,
Thank
G4.
you, G4.
This question comes from Jordan Fringe 94.
Jordan!
Shout
out, Jordan.
Shouts out to Jordan. It says, for the new segment, what was the first movie that you watched where the magic of film clicked for you? For me, it was Jurassic Park, where I believed as a kid it was real, and I grew the fascination of learning how they brought that movie to life, building my love for film and how movies are made.
That's such a great question, Jordan. It's so hard to answer.
Good.
But it was the multitude of behind the scenes footage of The Lord of the Rings. It made me fall in love with movies in a way of everyone in the project is having a great time. It was the first movie when I watched the behind the scenes footage that I'm like, I want to be there. I want to do that. I want to have fun with the gang, you know? So yeah, it was great question. Thank you.
The movie that was the first movie for me that it kind of clicked, that I'm like, this is a production. Hugh Jackman, the guy, is he the guy in the Wolverine? Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing.
Yes.
That movie, I don't know what it was. It was one of those movies that I've watched so much to the point where I could still quote it as an adult. Man. And I remember finding the deleted scenes and going like, wait a minute, hold on. That wasn't real. That was a costume and that was real. There's practical effects. They obviously use a lot of CG. That movie really like captured my attention. And I realized that
that's so fun.
Movies can be like, they can be a lot of things. They use a lot to get the work done, and I was enamored. And from there, I just, started falling in love with other movies. From Duncan Creamer, 8251.
Hi, Duncan Creamer.
Hi, Duncan Creamer. What's a movie and or piece of media you watched, played, or consumed when you were younger that you probably shouldn't have seen? Like, for example, seeing Kill Bill Volume 1 at 5, but you think it assisted in cultivating the personality, interest, tastes in media that you have now?
I don't know. That's such a hard question because, I don't know, Monty Python, Blazing Saddles, a lot of Mel Brooks movies, I feel have a lot of adult tones to them. But I would say you know what? I think one of the most movies that I saw probably too young was Austin Powers. I saw the first Austin Powers movie when I was really little, and I would say things like, "Are you Randy, baby?"
Oh, Jesus
and like
fucking
I remember
Christ.
being in a Blockbuster when I was a little kid, and I would say things like, "In Like Flint, that's my favorite movie," and my mother would be like, "Don't say that, don't say
Wait,
that."
what does that mean?
So, well, that's the thing, because my mother too was like, "I don't know what that movie is. I don't think you should be saying that in
That's
public."
funny. My mom naturally was the one who was like, "Oh, you can't see that. That's not good for you." Like when I was probably 13, I begged to watch Sweeney Todd, and she finally relented, but she didn't want me to watch movies that involved murder or killing.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
She didn't want me to see Johnny Depp, but it wasn't even that. That wasn't even where it began for me. Growing up, I'm talking as young as 6. My dad would be like, "Okay, I'm gonna put on South Park. It's a cartoon, so it's okay for kids." Like, that was kind of my dad's approach to things. But I will say, the first movie that I saw without my parents that I definitely shouldn't have been watching, Jackass, the uncensored version.
Mm-hmm.
My
So you
brother
probably
bought it.
saw a lot of genitalia.
I saw lots of balls, dicks, and my brother and I were just like, "Oh, this is what they meant by uncensored."
If you like what we're doing, do not forget, hit the like button, hit the little thumbs up button, because it gives us dopamine. And if you want to make us happy, hit the like button. And if you somehow haven't yet, I'm not going to judge you. In fact, I encourage you to right now.
I will judge you.
Yeb will judge you if you don't subscribe right now. So do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe button and click the little bell. It doesn't make any crazy beeps or bloops. All it does,
won't jump scare you.
it just
It's
lets you know when
just
we
a
post a
bell.
new video. We have a listen along for this movie that you'll see on a Friday, as
Yeah.
well as our Aftercare, which comes out on Monday. But we have a lot of things brewing on this channel, so thank you all for your support. It means the world to us. As always, it's me, your boy, Bootyswagga, joined as always by the lovely,
It's Yep.
and this was You Gotta
See
See
This.
This Aftercare.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta see this.
You gotta see this.
You gotta see
You
this.
gotta see this Aftercare.
Leave a comment down below if you gotta see this.
Listen, if you're getting tired with the calls to actions, that's really too bad. You got to work on your stamina. You got a stamina problem, pal. You know what it is? You're yoinking it off too much. That's right. You heard me. Enough yoinky sploinky. Go watch a movie. You miscreant. Bye.